Hey friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead, and today I'm going to show you how I darn a cotton sheet. Now these are a weird repair. Now if this was a top sheet, I would just patch this because it's not that big a deal, but it's a bottom sheet. And I'm telling you, and I've got it on the wrong side facing because there's what the pattern looks like. If you have a fitted sheet and it has an L-shaped rip like this, your sheet's pretty much toast. It's almost impossible to sew. So I'm gonna put it on this embroidery, whatever hoop this is. I always keep a couple of embroidery hoops around because they're real handy. See, when you're darning a sock, you want it on, say, a light bulb shape because it's curved. This is flat, so we want to keep this as flat as possible. Okay. I have a king-size bed, and as anybody knows, king-size beds are a real pain in the butt and expensive to buy sheets for. So when a perfectly good fitted sheet gets ripped by my dog, we want to try and repair it. But you don't want to put a patch. You don't want to put a patch on your bottom sheet because your toenails or whatever are going to catch it and it's going to rip and it's going to be annoying. So the closest thing we can do to making it new again is to darn it. Now I'm going to flip this over. And I'm just going to take one of these safety pins and I'm going to grab that corner and I'm going to pin it through to the corner on the other side. And I have grabbed it deep into the fabric because if you get too close to the edge, it'll just pull through. Okay. Now you want a really long sewing needle, not a darning needle, but you can buy fabric darning needles which are like this and they're quite long and they're slender. Because we're darning fabric, we are not darning wool. So it's a whole other ball game. Now, I'm going to bring my hand up underneath, and I am doubling the thread, but I'm not knotting on the end. Why do you not want to knot on the end? Because it'll catch on your skin when you sleep, and it'll tear, and it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so now my hand is under here. And all I'm going to do, now if you really want to be sure, you can darn the entire square, but it's totally not necessary. But we are going to go back and forth across and then across this way of our cut or our tear. And we're going to go to 1 inch on either side of the tear as well as at the very end. And we are just going to weave this in and out. Kind of like if I was quilting, only larger stitches. And we're going to pull. Now, I thought about using a different colored thread so that you could see it better, but I do have to live with these sheets. Weave in and out and go right over, maybe even catch some of these threads, and may want to try and catch some of these threads that are loose, and then all the way to a good inch to the other side of the tear. We're going to leave a good couple of inches of thread here, okay, to trim later on, and then we're going to go back through. We're going to move it over, and then again, we're going to begin to weave. And weave, if you can, in the opposite direction of the stitches previous that you put through, because it sets a pattern. So wherever there's a gap in your stitches from the row before, pick that up. Okay, so when I have all of this sewn across, we'll be back. Okay, now we're at the corner, and I'm gonna leave this safety pin in here. It's gotta hold in place, or we're gonna have a crooked darn. What I'm gonna do here is, you notice I've gone straight But I'm gonna take my corner here, and see my thumb under there? I'm gonna grab it, and I'm gonna weave straight up to the corner. Why? Because it's the weakest spot in the tear, and I just wanna anchor it in place. I probably could have done that at the beginning instead of using a safety pin. And then back underneath the corner here. And let's get that tugged up, just like that. And this is where I'm gonna end this thread because it's short and I need to. I'm gonna give it a little extra stitch. And make sure that your tension is the same all the way along, or you're gonna have lumps and loops. Okay, now that I've done up here to the corner, I'm gonna start back over here at the other end of the tear, just the way we did at the beginning. We're gonna start in the fabric before the cut. Because if you start on the cut, that cut can continue to go. You wanna reinforce the fabric where the tear ends so that it doesn't re-tear. So we just weave our thread in and out, really supporting the ends and the corner, the ends and the corner. This was a much bigger tear. I would probably darn farther back from the tear, but this is a small one, so it doesn't need as much of the tensile support of the thread as a bigger tear would. In this disposable society, people have not been taught enough about how to repair things rather than, turn them into something else. Yes, I could turn this into something else, but with such a small tear, it's very easily repaired. Well, not easily. It takes some time and some patience, but it's not a difficult repair if you take your time, you show some patience, and you can repair your sheet almost as good as new. Now, I'm almost there at the corner. Remember I did that heavy reinforced stitch right there? And I'm gonna go right to it, and I'm gonna start weaving the thread that I wove across. And I'm gonna start on the outside of that tear, and I'm gonna reweave all down, strengthening the threads that went across. And then we're gonna go back across this way. And you don't have to go right up next to the stitches on the outside because you've already reinforced them. So we just want to anchor them. Okay, so now this is where it gets a little fussy because we still have a hole there. We want to make sure that we go opposite of the way we just came up. So we're going to weave over and under opposite of the over and under we did before. You see how I guess you can't see. Let's see if I can get this up close. See how we're building fabric now. And all I'm going to do with this is now do a cross stitch. Normally I wouldn't do this, but this is a really big hole. So I'm weaving a bias kind of a thread through on an angle to kind of put some more meat into this hole, especially up near the corner. Okay, now we'll trim this off. What I'm going to do now is, once again, I'm going to go across the weaving here. Remember how we did this cut? We did it this way. I'm going to go back and forth across here, and then I'm going to go back and forth across here again, and once more up, and that should really solidify our darning. And don't get excited. Make sure you still are getting all the odd threads that are of the original fabric. And you know how I know I'm done, folks? When I can press up on that and not see my hand. That is a good repair. In about 40 minutes, I've woven a new patch into a ripped sheet, which would have eventually just ripped more and more and more. Now, just to make sure this corner is good and secure, I'm actually going up on an angle just to be sure. And there it is, folks. And this is really up close. We have woven in a good, strong patch into our sheet. And you can barely see where the tear was. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our half-acre homestead saying 40 minutes, some thread and a needle, and I just saved a sheet that would probably cost me $40 to replace because I'd have to buy a new set. Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Take care, God bless.